Hello patron and welcome back to my life. Writer Wednesday, where I talk about the art and the business of writing and tell you how I do what I do as an indie author. Today we're answering a question from Eric Adams, and I'm going to read his answer out loud verbatim, just because I'm going to answer it in a bit of a roundabout way and I want you to see why. A few of my many projects are being written with female protagonists. I'm curious as to your thoughts on writing in a female voice as a male and how you went about it. Any tips that you may have would be much appreciated. Thank you for your time. So part of the answer to this question lies in how it's phrased. Writing in the female voice as a male. It's not that a feminine voice doesn't exist. It absolutely does. But if that's not your voice, you should think hard about why you want to write in it. Let's talk about another subject that is analogous. I don't want to imply that it's any way in the same, but writing about race in America. I am very, very, very leery of any white author who tries to tackle this subject with a person of color as the main character in their book, because frankly, it's not our story to tell from the inside, right? Now, that doesn't mean we can't talk about racial injustice or express our viewpoint on it, but when we do so by, claiming the story as our own, we're drowning out the voices of people who we should actually be listening to when speaking about that subject. So now that's a little bit more in-depth and frankly intense than a simple question about writing a female character as a male author, but it's just that's general framing for the question, okay? The women I write are not particularly feminine. They're not feminine, they're not overly masculine, but femininity is not their, defining quality, you could say. The same thing with my characters of color. They don't face racial injustice or racial inequality. Not because those things don't exist or aren't important, but because that's not my story to tell. In fact, this is one of the primary reasons why Underrealm is the way that it is. Free from gender discrimination, free from racial discrimination, and free from discrimination based on sexuality. For one thing, I wanted to be able to tell stories featuring a wide variety of characters. In other words, to say that everyone of any type of person is welcome in this fantasy universe I have created. But for another, I wanted to create a world where I could invite women authors and queer authors and authors of color and combinations of all of those, as well as disabilities and everything else, to write in Underrealm and to tell the stories from those perspectives that they have and I do not. And by building Underrealm the way that I did, I would have established an audience that was already wanting to hear what they had to say. Now, they can't exactly tell a story of racial inequality in Underrealm, but an Underrealm book or series can be the foundation of success that will then allow them to write their own story, free from my influence, which should not be there, about racial inequality or anything else, any other narrative like that they want to speak on and that they are more qualified to speak on than I am. To summarize an answer in very few words, if you're trying to write a character with very different life experiences to your own, do as much research as you possibly can. Read books by authors who share those life experiences. Watch YouTube channels from people who share those life experiences. Follow bloggers from people who have been in those situations. And as you're actually writing the character, ask very politely if people from those backgrounds will check your work or hire them to consult for you. And when you do, whether you're paying them or not, follow their advice. They know what they're talking about. But if you think your character's voice should be wildly different from your own, there's a decent chance that they are too far out of your sphere of life for you to do a decent job writing them and not kind of messing it up in one way or another. I'm going to add, even as I'm recording this, one example here, which is Mark Twain and Huck Finn, the book Huckleberry Finn. You know what I'm talking about. Is Jim a particularly well-written African-American? Is he representative of Africans, even slaves in America at the time? No, but that's okay, and here's why. Because the book is not about Jim. It has him in it, he's a major character, but the book is about Huckleberry Finn, and Jim is viewed through the lens of Huck Finn. Therefore, we as the reader can interpret that when Jim is a little bit too much of a stereotype, a little bit too this, too that, that is because that is how he is viewed by Huck Finn. And that gives us insight as to what it is like, or what it was like in that area of the world at that time and place. It is a very intentional and deliberate revelation to us of how these people were viewed. And you can get into a lot of trouble if you give that revelation about how you view those people but that's not what you were trying to make a statement about. Diversity in our work is incredibly important. We should all work to improve, enhance it, to have more of it. But the best diversity is a diversity of creators, where we learn about life experiences other than our own from people who have actually lived those life experiences. And that is it for today, patron. I want to thank Eric for the excellent question, which maybe got a little bit more complicated than you wanted. Sorry about that. I hope it's helpful. As always, if there's an aspect of writing or publishing that you want me to talk about, drop it in the comments on YouTube or on Patreon and I will hit it up. In fact, I am out of requested topics on my list. I have a lot more stuff to talk about, obviously, but if you do have a request, something you want me to discuss, it will happen very quickly if you drop it in the comments on this video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you as always for your incredible support, and I will see you next Wednesday. Bye!